my channel, everyone. Today I wanted to show you guys how to make a quick and easy baked chicken recipe. Before I get into the cooking process, I want to show you guys all of the ingredients that I'll be using. And as usual, all of my ingredients and measurements will be in the description box below. So what I have here is I have one whole chicken here that I've washed and I've cleaned thoroughly, and then I patted it dry with some tissue. Now the reason why I patted it dry afterwards was because I want the skin on top to get nice and crispy in the oven. So I have one chicken here. I have some of my green seasoning. I have some salt to taste. I have some lemon pepper. I have some rosemary, some paprika, some garlic powder, some Worcestershire sauce, some olive oil, and some ground black pepper. Now, all of these seasonings that I'm using, it's what I like to have on my chicken. If you guys want to use any different types of spices or anything like that, feel free to use it. This chicken is a blank canvas for you guys to paint yourselves. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my olive oil and I want to start putting it over the chicken. This olive oil is going to make all of my spices stick. So I want a little bit of olive oil on the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking some salt and I'm going to sprinkle some salt on the top. You want to liberally salt your chicken because the chicken is very bland at this point, obviously. There's no seasoning on it, so you want it to have nice flavor. So I'm putting enough salt on here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some black pepper on the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt. And I'm using kosher salt here because that's just what I use in my kitchen. And I'm also going to put a little bit of black pepper. Now at this point, I'm going to start adding in all of my seasonings. So I'm going to take my lemon pepper and I'm going to start sprinkling that over. And remember, you don't want to add too much salt because this lemon pepper does have salt in it. So seasoning that on one side. I'm going to take half of my rosemary. And I'm using dried rosemary today just because I do not have fresh rosemary. You're welcome to use fresh if you'd like, or any other herb of your choice. So I'm just crushing it up a bit because with the dry herbs you get the most flavor out of them when you crush them up. So I'm going to take half of my rosemary and sprinkle it over the side of the chicken. Then I'm going to take half of my paprika. And I'm doing this in two stages. I'm seasoning one side, then I'm seasoning the other side, just so that I get an even coating of spices everywhere. At this point I'm adding my garlic powder on. And I'm going to take half of my green seasoning and pour over this side. I'm going to take half of my Worcestershire sauce and pour on this side. Now Worcestershire sauce gives this a great flavor. It gives it a nice savory flavor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of my spices on this side of the chicken now. I'm going to add the rest of my rosemary. I'm going to add the rest of my lemon pepper here. I'm going to add in the rest of my paprika and my garlic. I'm going to add in the rest of my green seasoning here. And of course, you're welcome to put this chicken in a bowl, in a big bowl, put in all of your spices and all of your seasonings, and then just mix it up as is. I just prefer to do it in the pan because I'm going to bake it right here in this pan. And I also want to pour it on the rest of my Worcestershire sauce. Now what I'm about to do, this is the most important part. You need to take your hands and you need to rub this chicken all over. You want to get all of these spices and seasonings inside of the chicken, and you want to get it inside of the skin. You're going to see that there's a huge flap. And what you want to do is you want to grab some of that seasoning, get it all under that flap. And you get all the seasoning from the outside, just start rubbing it on. And of course this is a messy job, but cooking is messy sometimes. You need to get your hands in there. So I'm just going to keep rubbing the spices into this chicken, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's ready to go in the oven. Alright everyone, I've seasoned up my chicken very nicely. I've gotten all the seasoning inside of the skin and inside of the cavity of the chicken just to get that flavor everywhere. And then what I also did, what I didn't mention before, is that I took some potatoes and I cut them pretty big so this way they could stand up to the cooking process. And what the potatoes do is they're going to soak up all of the juice from the chicken that it seeps out throughout the cooking process. So this just adds a really great element to the dish. So what I've done here is I've had my oven preheating to 375. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover my chicken with some foil wrap. And why I'm covering with the foil wrap is because I want the chicken to cook out mostly covered. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the foil wrap later, and I'm going to allow the chicken to get nice and crispy on top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in my chicken into the oven, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done and I'm ready to remove my foil. Alright everyone, I wanted to show you guys how my chicken looked after I pulled it out of the oven. So I had it covered at 375 for an hour inside of the oven, and now I've taken it out and it's mostly cooked. So I've taken off the foil, and what I want to do now is I want to take some olive oil. I want to get it all over the potatoes, on the chicken, and what that's going to do is help the skin get nice and crispy. I also want to mention that I flipped over the chicken to have the back side facing up and the breast side down. This is because I do not want the breast to get dry at all. And that was my oven. It's coming up to temperature at 400 degrees now. So I'm going to stick this back in the oven for about 20 more minutes just to let the skin get crispy and for the chicken to fully finish inside. And here we have it everyone, my finished baked chicken. All of these potatoes look great. They're nice and crispy on the outside, and they've soaked up all of the juices that the chicken let out while it was cooking. I also wanted to let you guys know that after the hour that I had it in the oven, I did tell you guys to put it back in the oven for an additional 20 minutes to allow it to get brown. However, I ended up leaving my chicken in the oven for about another 40 minutes so this way it could finish cooking inside also. After the 20 minutes, I found that the chicken was not done. Now, you can either use a thermometer to check the chicken for doneness, or you can do what I did and cut behind the thigh and look between the bone, and if the juices run clear, then the chicken is done, and if they're still bloody, then the chicken is not done. So, I hope you guys enjoyed cooking with me today. Please like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below on what you guys would like me to make next.